Welcome to The Subject is Moot, where everything we discuss is debatable. I am Dom, and across from me is...
Yeah, it's Mike.
And a special thanks to Vinny and Quiz, the producers of the podcast. We want to hear from you, so write in your opinion, comments, or topics you want us to talk about to thesubjectismoot@yahoo.com, and we will bring them up during future shows. You could also follow us on Twitter at TSIM_podcast, as well as Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. In the search bar, just type in The Subject is Moot or Dom Mike, and you'll find us.
That's us.
Behind the mics for episode 23.
Dom Manley.
Great Yankee.
Jinx.
Episode 23, but before we talk music, I have to say that this episode is brought to you by Sweetwater.
Sweet.
Sweetwater has been providing music instruments and pro audio since 1979. They have excellent products, pricing, and customer service. Sweetwater also offers interest-free financing, free shipping to the lower 48 states, and exclusive free 2-year warranty, which comes with nearly every product they offer. They are located in the United States in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Call 800-222-4700 for sales assistance, technical questions, or advice. You could also check out their website at sweetwater.com.
They have a guitar I want. It's a lot of money, though.
They have everything I want.
Yeah.
Could buy so much stuff from that store.
Truism.
Let's talk about something before we get into music, which we don't usually.
I'm a little scared.
We don't usually talk about anything else. Well, not usually. I don't think we ever really spoke about anything else.
There is nothing else.
There is nothing else. But I think
comedy.
we do need to address this.
Shoot, let's hear it. What do you got?
For all you Walking Dead fans.
Oh God.
This was on around the same time that Roseanne's show was canceled. Rick is leaving The Walking Dead. Is that true?
I heard things.
You heard things.
I heard some
eh?
things.
You heard some
yeah.
things.
At this point of the show, I really could care less. I'm just still waiting for Game of Thrones to come back. But it's a big deal. It's a big, big deal for the fans of the show. I'm sure they're all, as much as they all love Daryl, Rick is really
Well, he's the hub.
the matriarch.
Yeah, he's the hub. Did you say matriarch?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be patriarch?
Not at this point.
I don't know.
Him and Carol actually have switched
You know what?
roles.
You know what? After the ending of this past season and everything else that Rick does makes you scratch your head and say, why?
So I don't watch the show anymore.
I could have easily bailed. Not this year. This year was
2 seasons ago.
decent. This year was decent. Definitely could have bailed. You know what it was? Last year was bad, right? Except the first episode where, what's his name? Glenn and Abraham.
Spoiler alert, people.
Yeah, 2-year-old spoiler alert. So where they got, I guess, knocked off. And after that episode and maybe the second one, I kept waiting because every show has filler shows, but I kept waiting for
Not Game of Thrones.
the next great episode, and there was never one great episode. I could have easily bailed after last season, but I said, you know what, let's give it one more shot, because even the writers were saying that they needed to go back to, I guess, their original.
I call it the bookend theory. First episode's great, last episode's great, everything in between is just filler. I felt that way about the last few seasons. That's why I jumped off.
Yeah, it could easily have, but I figured, I'm in it pretty deep. Why bother?
Sure, no.
And it's only 40 minutes a week.
Of course.
And you know what? The Talking Dead is actually good too, but
it's a fun show, I'm sure.
it is. Chris Hardwick does a great job, and he has good guests on, some celebrities, actors, actresses from the shows and from the show, and it's good. But for the most part, though, my feeling on Rick leaving, I like Andrew Lincoln. Big fan of him. I don't agree with everything that he does. I think he needs to have a little bit more brass.
Well, he does. That's another problem I have with the show.
He let Negan live. No,
I'm saying they go back and forth with his character. His character arc is just that. It's too much. There's too much of an arc all the time. It's always the badass Rick that everyone loves, and then it's the conflicted Rick that just...
He shouldn't be doing anything for his son. For Carl. He should just have named Coral. But he shouldn't be doing anything for him in his memory. Another spoiler alert.
Careful, people.
So I think he should just be doing what he has to do for the people who are alive.
Right.
Like
right.
Maggie and the fact that,
Sorry that I can't add much. I've been stepped away from the show for quite some time.
Yeah, well.
But it is a big topic as far as the TV world goes and TV shows.
now on to music. But anyway, my feeling is, I don't know if I gave you my feeling, but I think Rick being off the show, and I think he's going to be here for the next year. Supposedly, I read one report or, one article that said they were going to offer, well, not they were going to, I'm sure he knows about it before we do, Norman Reedus more money and give him more of a lead role.
They're going to have to.
Which they have to.
They have no choice.
There's no choice.
And the fans, that's the only way they're going to be able to keep the diehards because they love Daryl.
Mm-hmm.
Daryl may be the most popular character. I'm not sure. I know he was for quite some time, but
Daryl Carroll, I think, are the two most popular.
If they focus the show on him, I don't think they'll lose all their fans.
No,
they'll still keep a good amount, at least enough to keep the ratings up.
Well, I think the people who are diehard fans, they won't leave anyway. I think they'll be disappointed, but they're invested. They're vested too long, right? So I don't think they'll leave. They'll be disappointed, like I said. But with Norman being at the the leader of the group, I think that's their only move.
It was genius of them on the TV end of it because he's not even a character in the comic books.
He's not. He's definitely not. So let's get into some questions. And you had mentioned that Gar wrote in.
The Gar's question is this: how commercial success affects the bands that you've liked from the beginning? So I guess that's more or less pointed at bands like, you take a liking to right from the get-go, first album or first time you hear them, and they become successful, how we feel, they may have changed in their musical approach or our own approach on how we like them. I think a lot of people tend to, if they stumble onto a band that no one else knows about, they kind of make it their own, that I found this band first type of attitude. The next thing you know, it hits the MTV and the radio, and you see people wearing shirts, listening to them out of their cars, and they're not your band anymore.
Why not? Because everybody's got a shirt?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just a mentality. I guess that's part of the way he's directing the question, possibly.
Well, could he be directing that question towards like a band like Metallica who puts out a Black album and commercials? I mean, do you think that's what he's saying? Or
I think it's there's many answers to this question.
You could many angles probably to that question. It's a deep question.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
And that's Gar's an intelligent music fan. Maybe not a fan. Is that how far you're not going?
Go that far either. So yeah, I think there's a few ways to look at this question. The one, what I said too about holding on to that band as your own before anyone else knows about them. I think the musical direction, the musical change, like the first time a person heard Metallica was, I think, a compilation, for instance. It wasn't even on an album. It wasn't Kill 'Em All. It wasn't even the first musical release that Metallica did. Think about how they sounded then, and then fast forward to Load and Reload, or the debacle that is Saint Anger. There's a huge, obviously there's a lot of years in between there too, and a lot of great albums, but that as well, that angle as well, as far as the musical direction angle. Queensryche, I mean, there's a ton of bands have changed their sound or direction slightly, or
me not having any kind of musical band like professional band background, I don't know if I could answer that question other than the way I'm looking at it from the outside in. Where I have questions, okay, now look at Van Halen's last album, right? A Different Kind of Truth, 2012. Supposedly that was Wolfgang's project, right? Where he went into the archive and pulled out a lot of music where him and David Lee Roth kind of added to what was in there.
Sure. Some of those songs I had some bootlegs where maybe 2 or 3 of those songs were I either riff ideas or full songs from that never made any of their earlier records.
Right. So if you take that, okay, take all their albums until they really started. Well, you know what? I think all their albums were great.
Not 3.
No, not 3. No, okay. I mean, all their albums were great except 3.
Nothing against your own.
No. And we talk about Van Halen a lot and this, but I kind of feel like bands do it to themselves almost, where they lose, not focus, but do they lose the edge? Do they run out of material? Do they feel like now they have to try and impress people and do something different? I really don't know. Like when you get a band like...
Well, how about a band that feels like they have nothing left to prove? They just put out whatever, like Saint Anger.
I'm sure that a lot of bands have albums that, I mean, it wasn't Diver Down, a filler. I think what wasn't the manager pushing them to put
Roth
out
too. Roth liked the idea of covers, like a
Right.
slew of covers.
right. So the manager was putting them, putting pressure on them to put out an album, and that they rushed it. I think it was done in a very short time, 2 weeks or so. I don't remember, but I know it was a really, really short time.
I love it.
Oh yeah, well, you love it because it's Van Halen, and I do for that respect too.
Plus, Little Guitars is on there. That's beautiful.
But there's a couple of good songs on there they could have just threw and sprinkled them throughout the other album.
Yeah.
Add
one to each album.
But I'm sure bands have filler.
Well, there's a lot of contractual. But in those days where they were under heavy scrutiny from the labels and contractual agreements,
Putting out an album every year or so, like 10 months, 11, 12 months, 14 months.
Depending on what the contract was for, sure. You know, like a band like Metallica, when they stayed with Elektra, I mean, if you think about the amount of time in between albums after the Black Album, they kind of wrote their own ticket because of their success. Before that, probably not. But after their success, after the explosion of the Black Album, they did whatever they wanted to do.
Well, how many albums was out before the Black Album? I mean, you had all those.
Kill 'Em All,
Ride the Lightning, Master of
Puppets, and Justice for All,
right.
And then the Black Album.
Okay, so you had 4, and then the Black Album comes out.
Right.
Okay, and then after that, it was just straight
Load,
downhill.
Reload,
It was straight downhill.
Saint Anger, Death Magnetic.
You know what? I didn't really even get into a lot of those. To me, that was, after those first 4 in the Black Album, still consider them the same band, different sound. They were all great. I like the Black Album. Black Album's a great album.
Black Album's outstanding. I mean, I'll probably never want to hear Enter Sandman for the rest of my entire life.
That's because you're a Yankee fan and you've...
Well, for other reasons.
No, I know.
But the rest of the songs on that, I don't care how much they're played. They're fantastic.
They're a tremendous album. But so I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Commercial success, does it ruin a band? Do they run out of material? Do they...
There's a lot of answers.
Yeah.
I think we've covered some of the main points, I think. Success.
Well, if you're successful, why would you want to put out a bad album?
Because you don't have to put out a good album.
Well, you're an art. Yeah, but you know
Look
what?
at U2. Okay, in the 90s.
Me or U2, the band?
The band U2.
Oh, okay.
They were so big and so successful that for a few albums they experimented where if you go back and listen to Joshua Tree of War or even Boy, their very first studio release,
I will follow.
and then listen to an album like Pop or the one before that, which I actually liked a little bit of it. I forget, the name escapes me. But
is that with Vertigo on it?
No. Way before that, in the 90s, after Octoon Baby.
Oh.
The name escapes me right now. But those, sound-wise, they didn't even... Lemon was on that.
Yeah.
They didn't even really care, I don't think. Because they were like, we're U2, and we're bored of making rock and roll records, and we want to play around with our sound, and they still maintained their popularity. And I think they showed the music business. They kind of were like, listen, when a band this successful can still do what they want and maintain their success, the live show is a big deal. Because even if people didn't like those records, which I didn't, I mean, they have a song here and there that were really good on those albums, but people still filled the stadiums. Not even theaters. They filled stadiums for U2 during that time. Off of the success. And U2 knew that. It wasn't career suicide. There was no way people were going to stop, because as long as you go and still play, Southern Found What I'm Looking For or Bullet the Blue Sky, people are going to go. So.
I don't know. I think like you said, I think we did touch on a few things. I don't know what the real answer is. It's a good question, and like I said before, it's deep.
Look at Queensryche. You got Tate still playing Operation Mindcrime to death.
He has to.
He has no other choice.
Exactly.
And
he's going to be out in June, middle of June, Starland Ballroom, Sayreville, New Jersey.
So there's a lot of answers to this question, I think. There's a lot of ways to look at this question.
Do they do it? Do they do it to try and make more money?
I think they just do it to sustain their livelihood as live musicians and a live act. Because, well, at least for this instance, as far as talking about Tate playing Mindcrime over and over again, because not only his die-hard fans are going to want to hear his new material live, anyone else wants to hear Queensryche.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't even handle the older stuff anymore vocally. So, it's why you can't fault the rest of the band for going out and getting a younger vocalist who can handle it. Because if you want to hear Queen of the Reich or Take Hold of the Flame, you don't want to hear Tate, dropping the song a few octaves just so he could sing it at a lower range. But then again, I know a person or two who still go see Tate just to hear him sing those songs because they're his songs.
Well, I was a Kiss fan growing up, and I don't go see Kiss. I haven't seen Kiss in many, many years. I won't go see them again. I mean, how many times do you need to see them?
Right.
Seeing a band like Dream Theater is different because they're still putting out albums, and even though Kiss has put out a couple albums in the last few years or whatever, but there's no reason for me to go see them to see them sing God of Thunder, Detroit Rock City, Do, Strutter, and all those other songs over and over again. I mean, they have I don't know how many greatest hits albums. For what reason, I don't know.
Let me ask you this: if Kiss were to put out a monster record next week, that was
that's funny you should say that because I guess there's no pun intended there because one of their later albums or recent albums is called Monster.
I think I kind of knew that too, but I didn't do it on purpose. If they were to put out a great record next week, fantastic front to back song wise, blew you away, and then all of a sudden you read that they during their next tour they were going to play a good majority of the new songs on their during their live shows. Would you go?
No.
Now, would you not go because you're not interested, or would you not go because it's not truly Kiss?
Oh, I saw Kiss when it was not the core four. Back in 1989 when it was Hot in the Shade.
Yeah, but
in 89, 90, I saw them around that time. No, I don't think that's the reason at all. I mean,
why wouldn't you go?
I just don't have a need to go see. Okay, so let's just say the album is 12 songs and they're going to play 8 of those 12 songs. I don't think I need to see that. I think I saw enough of them,
right.
Spitfire and Paul Stanley sing, and I just don't need to see that anymore.
Super fans go all the time.
The Kiss Army will be there all the time.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and that's fine, and they can do that. I don't think I need to go see them sing another 8 songs off their 12-track album.
Well, I'm part of the Dream Theater Navy, and I'm sure I'm going to go see them every time they play.
That's a different story, though, because...
I'm just kidding.
No.
I will see them every time they play.
Well, listen, I think when you look at a band like Dream Theater and the depth, the just three-dimensional band with the players that they have, the lineup that they have, I can go see them even though I don't. I would go see them much more than I would go see Kiss because I can... Just watching John Mayung play bass and Jordan Rudess and John Petrucci, just watching those three, and not taking anything away from Mangini, but just watching those three, you don't even know where to keep your eyes.
I know.
You don't know where to look next.
Well, that's what makes me go back, and that's what makes me go to a lot of the shows and a lot of the artists and bands that I like, because a lot of the bands that I like aren't just a one-dimensional band. Even if I'm going to see a guy like Satriani or even some of the newer players I like, they always surround themselves with great musicians. So like last time I saw Satriani, Marco Minnemann was there. So a lot of the show I watch Marco, and plus Brian Beller is no slouch of a bass player. He's fun to watch because he has fun. And it's good to see a young bass player up there having fun. And he's tight with Minnemann. So it's not just about, seeing Satriani, because even years ago when I saw him, Stu Ham was with him.
Oh yeah, it's a treat. Now it's funny because you mentioned 2 things that have spin-off questions from somebody else.
Perfect.
But
that wasn't done on purpose.
No, and that's fine. You think about it though. That's why I would go see Dream Theater over and over again. I wouldn't go see Kiss. I think at this point right now, I'm really picky when it comes to who I would go see. Sure. I had the chance the other night, but due to my work schedule, unfortunately I could not go. I think it was in northern New Jersey where it was Gin Blossoms, Tonic, and Vertical Horizon.
I always thought Tonic was an underrated band. They were really good songwriters. So, Gin Blossoms too, but Gin Blossoms had tremendous success for a while.
Absolutely.
Tonic had mediocre success.
They were a great band, and let me tell you, that's a great lineup. A friend of mine went, and he was texting me pictures while he was there, and unfortunately I was working late. That's a show I would have gone to have seen a lot quicker than I would to go see, Kiss again.
Yeah, not to get off too far off topic from our question. Thanks, by the way, Gar. But live shows are tough when you work and you have family. It's tough. I've missed a handful of shows in the past 2 years or 3 years that of artists I've waited years to see. Never got a chance to see them live, or only saw them live once, and would love to have seen them again. Played locally, and even recently, Sons of Apollo played in Manhattan. Didn't get a chance to go to that show. I would have loved to have seen them live, to see them pull that off live. But
I would have liked to have seen that too.
yeah, it's tough to get out to the shows, especially when they're...
That's a lineup right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So let's get into...
Next question, right?
Well, the next couple of questions is from Joe
Thanks, Joe.
in Florida. What are you thanking him for? I didn't read the question yet.
He wrote in.
Well, he did. So, talking about a supergroup, a dream team, which we've touched on this topic before. He said, if you were a music manager, and could build your own supergroup, who would you have in it, and how many member band would it be?
Wow. Like an orchestra.
That's a great question. I mean, I love a band with horns.
Well, I'll tell you this much. How about we just say this? We'll limit it to
5.
5. Yeah. Limit. You got to put a limit. Or else we'll be sitting here. I'll be sitting here naming
No, that's good because it'll allow
50 guitar players.
That'll allow me to put in 2 guitar players. Okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
No.
I go?
You.
Oh, why?
You're up.
Okay.
You're ready. Have you seen that look in your eye?
I'm ready because I know my answer. We already talked about this on another show.
John Denver.
Mm-hmm. Who else?
Zamfir.
Go ahead.
Lawrence Welk.
Absolutely. You got to have Lawrence. He's a staple in everybody's band.
Of course. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I tossed around with this the last time. Was it Jeff Tate and DC Cooper? And I'm probably going to have to go with DC Cooper on vocals. Guitar would be Van Halen and Satriani.
Nice.
Bass is Myung. And I'll go with Neil Peart.
That's a good lineup right there.
Mm-hmm.
No keys?
That's 5.
All right. Throw 6 in there. Well, do you want keys?
I want keys and horns, but you only said 5. So
Enough with the horns.
Okay, Jordan Rudess.
All right. It's funny how the first person that always comes to mind when it comes to keys is Rudess, but he's the king. I mean, well,
I like Derek Sherinian.
a lot of people. Well, he's good. He's great, Sherinian. Not with Dream Theater. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because there are. I mean, obviously, it'd be Satriani and Vai on guitar for me. There's no. I mean, but that's even difficult because I'd love to have Paul Gilbert there, and George Lynch, and Nuno Betancourt. Vocalist. Wow, it's really, really hard. It really is tough.
Josh Groban.
Josh Groban on vocals.
Charlotte Church.
Yeah. Well, it's tough. I guess Ted Leonard from Enchant. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, you were always a Ted Leonard fan.
I love DC. I love Tate in his prime. You know, I like Ray Adler from Fate's Warning a lot. Probably in his, especially his early. I mean, he's still great with Spock's beard and newer Enchant. But
give us the lineup, please. Land the plane.
Rudess, Peart.
Wait, how can you have Rudess and Peart? Peart, I know, however you pronounce it. How can you have them if they're in my band? We're doing shows together. I mean, you just took Satriani. That's why I went first, so I thought I got
you
them.
You don't take Satriani away from me. Well, they're gonna
right,
have to do double duty. That's all.
We'll have to split the.
Bass is tough. That's a tough one because I love a lot of bass players too, Claypool and Geddy Lee. I'm probably gonna have to say Geddy Lee because he could always sing backup.
I was just gonna say, so in case someone gets laryngitis, then you're gonna have you.
Yeah, I guess I would have to go with Geddy, which is tough because I love Stu Ham too. But I'll probably have to go with Geddy Lee because he's Geddy Lee.
Really, I mean, he is a great, phenomenal, and one of the greats as far as bass play. But
I think he's the greatest. I'm going to put it out there. From watching a lot of Rush in the past 15 years. I mean, listen, Claypool's out of his mind.
Oh yeah.
You know, I love John Myung, you know that, but what Lee does is above and beyond anyone else.
Yeah. No, and we talked about this absolutely.
He doesn't just play pocket bass either.
No, I know, but it's almost like getting an all-star and putting him on a softball team.
Yeah, I know.
You know, you got a guy like Geddy Lee, and you're just putting him in the background to be playing bass. I mean, it's
well, in my band, he's also taking some backups too, some backup vocals, playing a little, Taurus pedals.
All right, so there's your lineup, Joe. There's Mike's lineup. There's my lineup. That's my dream team. But if you even think about like Sons of Apollo, there's a lot of people, a lot of bands out there that like even Chickenfoot, with although I think Sons of Apollo is probably top to bottom more talented as far as like bigger name, players.
Sons of Apollo is like the super group,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you know musicians. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people out there may not be familiar with
Bumble?
Ron Thal,
Yeah.
Bumblefoot, but he's been around for quite some time.
Let's address this one since we were talking about it like about 10 minutes ago. Mike, this one's for you, he says. Mike, this one is for you.
Pressure.
What is your disdain and aversion to Kiss every time Dom mentions them?
Ooh. I don't really have tremendous disdain. I recognize their importance in the history of rock music and how great of performers they are and what they did. It's just they're not my cup of tea. Simply put, to go too deep and rattle on, they're just that whole from early on, that whole like circus show. And I know that's the purpose of them, which is awesome because that's what made them who they are. They did, and I actually respect them for that.
What, that men wore makeup?
No, just,
No, I know.
the whole concept of making a rock show like a circus was ridiculously intelligent.
Hence the name Psycho Circus.
Fast forward, a lot of fast forwarding,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, it was a show. That was a show.
It was a show in
They
the show.
put on a show without a doubt, and people
They did things nobody else did.
right, and they're geniuses for it.
Mhm.
And I like some of their songs. Don't get me wrong. A lot of the bands that I love Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really. There's no disdain for them. It's just they're not my cup of tea, music wise.
You're a little younger than me. I don't know if it's an era thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kiss Army is definitely an era thing.
No, well, because you could even have some of the younger kids probably getting into Kiss these
Because of
days.
their dads?
Yeah, but
Or moms.
whoever it is.
I'm sure Simmons and
Yeah, well, I know where you're going.
appreciate the moms more.
So, but if you think about it, though, they were doing things that nobody were doing at the time. They wouldn't even try and do that. I mean, that's very gutsy.
Sure.
That's super gutsy to do what they did. And they had a good bunch of albums until they took the makeup off.
Right.
Even though I like Hot in the Shade, as bubblegummy as it was, I still like that album. And I don't know. I don't know why I like them. I like their music. I like what they did. I mean, they're still doing it. We just won't go see them again. I saw them enough.
Right.
I just, and I just don't understand why. I know why they do it, because of money, and we talked about this, but, Gene always putting out that greatest hits album.
A lot of bands do that. It's good. I think it's also not just artist driven. I think also that's the record company that does
Sure.
it. Just rehash greatest hits over and
Because
over
people
again.
will buy them. So,
Will they?
Yeah. Well, all right. So that was a good question. And that's, I guess he wanted to put you on the spot.
Thanks, Joe.
If you could place yourself, this is another question from Joe. Joe sent us in 3 questions. If you could place yourself in any one band, what would it be?
Now, supposedly we're great musicians. We have the talent to be in any band.
Well, this is what he worded, so let's add to it. Yes.
Okay.
So let's just say you're as talented as John Petrucci. And you could you can be in any band.
Probably Dream Theater. Surprise, surprise.
You'd be playing second fiddle to Petrucci,
Of
though.
course I would be, and I would have no problem with that.
He'll be behind the curtains. Nobody's going to want to see Mike.
It's all right. I'm in Dream Theater. To me, their level of success is at that super sweet spot, like that comfort level, because they could still go out to the supermarket and buy, for themselves rather than having to have it sent to their house. But yet they could still maintain a level of success financially off of their music without having to work as a dishwasher at a local restaurant.
I think they're beyond. They're a lot more beyond.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
But they could still go. They don't. Do you think Dave Grohl can go to the local Piggly Wiggly?
No.
Okay, that's my point. I think John Mayung could go into any supermarket in Manhattan and probably not be recognized unless I'm there, or some other Dream Theater fanatic is in there.
Would you run up to him?
No, probably not. I would probably just say, "Hey, John, how's it going?" I once saw Vito Bratta where I work, and I said hello to him
Well,
because I couldn't resist.
why would you not say hello?
I think I went a little bit over the top too, maybe just a tad.
Would you have him sign your back?
No, I haven't signed anything, but I was just like, holy bleep, it's Vito Bratta
And what? How close were you when you said that?
in the hallway, right near where he was sitting.
And what did he say?
No one else was around.
What did he say?
He was like, oh, wow, you know who I am? I'm like, of course I do. You're Vito Bratta, man. You're one of the greatest guitar players out there,
Yeah.
and maybe one of the most underrated.
That was in the 90s.
When I saw him?
Yeah.
Probably not. It was definitely in the past 18 years for sure. Within the 2000s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I figured that would be in the 90s.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He did come in the 90s to where I worked, and somebody kind of knew who he was and knew that I was a big guitar fan and got me like an autograph on like a little piece of paper, which was cool of them. I wasn't there, and I was disappointed, but fast forward, and there he was.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, I mean, their level of success is to me a great comfort level. Why not be? I'm not going to say I would love to be Metallica or some other bigger band so I could have this. They have a nice, comfortable level of success. They're able to do what they want artistically, musically. They write their own ticket. So that would definitely be the band I'd want to be. Those are all the reasons why I love them so much.
If I was, let's say, as good as Mayung, Billy Sheehan, I'd probably want to be in Van Halen.
Why not?
So I could play alongside Eddie and do solos along with him on the bass.
Right. You're probably as good as Michael Anthony.
Michael Anthony is actually very good.
He is good. We always joke around because if you watch the early live shows, his bass solos were always funny. It was basically just him hitting a note, letting the feedback go, and taking a swig of Jack Daniels.
That's all he had to do, though.
Yeah, I know.
That's all it was back then.
Those sweet high notes that's missing from Van Halen.
You're playing next to Eddie. There's really not much you're going to do to shock the crowd.
True. And Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just throw him in there.
Yeah.
With his flips and his kookiness.
But you know what? I think Michael Anthony knew his strengths, and his strengths were his backing vocals.
100%. All right, so I just want to touch on a topic that I stumbled upon recently on YouTube, Dom, where I'm not even sure, and I don't even know if I have the liberty to say it, but I stumbled upon someone's list, a YouTube list of top progressive metal guitar players, current guitar players. I guess when they say current, I guess they're talking about the past 10 or 15 years, because of the list
That's
I looked
current?
at.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
I know.
I don't know what you're talking about on YouTube, but.
And I just kind of scratched my head. I mean, I understand most of the list because a lot of those people on the list I have liked for quite some time, since the beginning. But there I thought were a few names that were missing from that list. And I didn't go on and make my own top 10 or anything like that. I just felt like maybe they were a tad off, but I kind of understand the list. So the list goes like this. Number 10, Sarah Longfield, who's fantastic. She's amazing. Number 9 is Angel Vivaldi, who's been doing it for quite some time, and he is fantastic. Number 8 was Sithue, who's one of my favorites. Number 7 is Yvette Young, another one of my very favorites. She really does something very different with the guitar. This is where I kind of felt the list fell a little short. Number 6 was Jake Bowen, and number 5 was Mark Holcomb from Periphery. Now, my issue there is both of them are fantastic guitar players, accomplished musicians. Periphery's gigantic, and I think that's the only reason they're on that list. Because if you look at the rest of the list are guitar players who mainly focus on the guitar. One of the things about Periphery that always made me scratch my head is I listen to their music, their riffs are great, their songs are excellent. But as a solo guy, as talented as those guitar players are, and they're actually missing the main guy from this list, who's Misha Mansour from Periphery, they don't play enough soloing, and they're not just guys who just play to play. They play really nice solos when they do play them, but it's few and far between when they play. So I feel like on the way this list was rolling, they just didn't fit into that list. And then to continue to pick back up was 4 was Pliny, who I think should be number 1. 3 is Aaron Marshall, who probably should be number 2. Number 2 was Tosin Abasi, who is revolutionary, and number 1 was Jacob Zaiteki, I was surprised, but whoever made this list must be a big fan because he's He's quite the underrated guitar player. I just don't know if I agree that he could be number one. And my big issue with this list is Chris Letchford's missing from Scale to Summit, who to me were at the forefront of this whole instrumental craze that's been going on in the past 5 to 10 years or so. Tremendously underrated. Letchford's amazing. He's a great guy, great band. I know there's been some negative stuff because of the band breaking up and changing members and whatnot, but Yngwie's still going, and people still love the guy. And he's much more of a head case than anybody. And I'm not saying Letchford. I love Letchford. I met him numerous times. He's a great guy. I think he should be number one, Chris Letchford. I don't even know why he's missing from that list. Andy James is missing from that list, who's a beast. Owain should have been on that list. Adam Rafowitz from Arch Echo should be on that list. The two dudes from Haken, Richard Henshaw and Charlie Griffiths, both should be on that list. And so should Per Nilsson from Cross Symmetry and Kepa. I mean, I know he's been doing it for a little longer than a lot of these guys, but to me, those are the missing pieces. And I know it's tough to narrow down 10, and if I was to take a few off and put a few in, but my biggest concern about that list is Chris Letchford missing from that list.
Well, how many people, I mean, where did this list come from? This could have just been somebody who just posted their own list.
It was done well, though. I mean, they compiled it.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that they didn't, but, you know, that's just could be just one person's opinion on their top 10.
But YouTube reaches a lot. I think it had 44,000 hits.
Yeah, well, so there's people who are just looking up guitar players. It could just be so if you do it right now and you did your list, somebody else got a podcast out there saying, you know, Mike said that Polini should be number one, and
no, Chris Letchford.
You said that before.
I know.
No,
on this list.
Okay.
On their current list.
Right. But what I'm saying is you said Polini, Letchford, whoever it is could be number one, and be like, no, I disagree with that. This guy, you know, from those bands that you had mentioned, 5 and 6 from the one band, but
it's moot.
It is. Definitely is moot.
But I just stumbled across it, and since I don't have a YouTube account, and I couldn't.
Well, we do.
Make a comment. Now, yeah, I know. Now we do.
But you know what, though? That brings you back to the point before when you said how Vito Bratta was one of the greatest guitar players out there at the time. When we were covering the greatest guitar players, he wasn't even on the list. Yet White Lion was considered one of the greatest bands of the 80s.
From that era, right.
And yet Vito Bratta is not even on the list. So that's a contradictory statement, especially when it's the same magazine putting out that type of...
Well, especially it's a guitar magazine.
Exactly.
That's
my point.
Dedicated to guitar, right.
So that's what's a little baffling to me.
Well, I just scratch my head with these lists and you know, because Letchford is always absent. Even Guitar World, even the guitar magazines. This guy should have been on the cover of that magazine numerous times, just as much or more than Tosin Abasi. I know Animals Lead is beloved. I've liked him since the beginning too. I've recognized the true talent that guy has and how different he is. But so is Scale to Summit. I've listened to instrumental music since the late 80s, early 90s. And the first time I heard Scale to Summit, it blew me away. You know, and they've really evolved. But
yeah, you got me into them. They're a great band.
I just scratched my head at it because Letchford is a beast. But
I don't know. Who could we talk to about this?
I just did. Oh. The masses. That's all that really matters anymore.
The subject is moot masses?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Because Guitar World doesn't give a crap.
No.
I would love to.
They don't care who Mike is.
I actually wrote into them a few years ago.
And what'd they say?
They never responded.
Thank you.
Exactly.
They don't care who Mike is.
They sure don't.
They don't realize that you are an international podcasting
this
legend.
Preceded that. So at that time, I was just a nobody.
And now
I'm a podcast nobody.
Now you write in. Tell them you're Mike from TSIM.
Well, Sim. So that being said about that list, I guess I'm going to segue into a new segment, Mike's Artists You Should Know. And I'm going to try to, make it a little varied. So it's not only going to just be instrumental artists or guitar players, even though
you're the guitar snob.
The majority, and I just profess my love for Geddy Lee and bass players.
All right, so that was a token little segment there of bass players.
I did it
just to so people don't realize
little bass button.
Yeah, bass button. Yeah.
So I'm not going to ramble too much about these bands. Just give you a short little backdrop for them.
And you say I'm long-winded.
I know.
Wow.
Check I think all of these bands can be found on Bandcamp.
Is there a place I could lay down here for a while?
This is a band you should know, you scrub. Wow. You music scrub.
Wow. See, it's all coming out.
Listen to some
Like I
good
tell
music
my-
once in a while.
Like I tell my kids, it all comes out. Eventually,
does.
it comes out.
The truth always comes out.
Yep.
Tell me how you really feel. All right, so there's some new artists who I stumbled upon recently here, and they're all on Bandcamp, and I'm going to go pretty quick. Down, wake up. The first band is called The King. Album called Race Above the Sky came out in 2017. They're from Poland. Great instrumental shred / progressive metal. No keys, just 3-piece. Guitar, bass, drums. Fantastic. Ursa, URSA. The album is called Nulla, Nulla, from 2017. They're from Spain. It's like post-rock, post-metal. Great drumming. Nice atmospheric rock. Next is Reconcern. Just like it sounds. That album came out this year in 2018. Album is called Time Lap Fusion. I think they're from Slovakia. Phenomenal, like progressive fusion-y metal amalgamation of great stuff. Like that?
Wow.
You like that?
You're a little tired after that
I'm
word?
going to be finished after that.
Wow.
Next band is a progressive metal rock band. Actually, they lean more towards modern rock too, called Mile Marker Zero. The new album is called The Fifth Row. A lot of websites have really given this high ratings. They're from Connecticut. Check that out. Let's go a little heavier. We're going to go a little death metal.
Ooh.
Inferi, Inferi. They're from, I believe, Tennessee. New album is called Revenant. Fantastic album. Great guitar playing. Symphonic, atmospheric death metal. Really good. Going to change hands again. Segue into a band called Mammal Hands, like a jazz trio.
That's a good band.
Shadow Work is their newest. They're from the UK. Came out in 2017. They're fantastic. Let's go back to the death metalish. I'm going to spell this one for a few people out there. It's Slugdge. Unlike anything you've ever heard. It's called
Does it sound like sludge?
No, it doesn't. I have to say this new album absolutely blew me away. It's called Esoteric Malacology from 2018. Please check them out if you like all things heavy. You will not be disappointed.
Vocals?
Yes.
Death.
Everything. Everything. Fantastic.
You can have it.
Yeah, I know you won't like that. I would never recommend that.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad at all.
I'm trying to mix it up. Next band, Artificial Language. Their new album, The Observer, came out in 2017. I believe they're from California. Really good. If you like Protest the Hero, or even going back a little bit to a band called Human Abstract without the heavier vocals, you'll dig this band. Really nice. Busy stuff. Really good stuff. Another possible album of the year on a lot of lists on a website is called Boss Keloid, Keloid. Album is called Melted on the Inch from this year. They're from England. Check them out. It's different stuff. I think if you like Mastodon, they consider themselves sludge and stoner doom, but it's more than that. Definitely may like them. Last but not least, let's go with a friend of ours, Elmo.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking.
Carjalayan. And sorry, Elmo, man. I know we're going to straighten this out when we get you for an interview. But his last album called Age of Heroes came out in 2017.
Let me see if I could look at his name again.
He's
a nice guy.
Super, super nice guy, and he's going to hopefully be a friend of ours soon. Check out his album. If you like Yngwie, if you like Vi, he's more of a streamlined version of both of them.
Karjalainen.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That works.
Karjalainen.
Yeah.
I could be butchering it, but it's Karjalainen.
I saved the best for last because he's a good dude.
He is.
He's a good dude and a phenomenal guitar player. He's all over YouTube. Check him out. He's really cool.
We almost had him on the show.
We're going to have him on the show soon.
We will.
Sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of my list, which is continuously growing, I will say for the next segment of artists you should know, but definitely give these bands a listen. They're all mostly independent. And I'm going to keep trying to mix it up as best as I can.
You should, and I'm glad you threw in Mammal Hands there. It's somebody that I can listen to. I listen to a lot more instrumental music these days because it's just a lot easier to think.
Well, you know how I feel about instrumental music.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my collection is becoming
instrumental.
Mostly because there's so many. Because it's a big. I think just on the independent circuit alone, obviously labels didn't make money off that, but now without labels, with the absence of labels, bands could, if they can't find themselves a good singer, they could still put their music out, which I love.
Tweets. Well, it's time, I think. If you have no other segments you'd like to throw.
Oh, there's plenty of. I can keep going, but I digress.
But you have work tomorrow.
Yeah, I do.
And so do I. So
super.
Let's talk about artists of the podcast.
Let's do it.
I'm going to talk about one that absolutely blew me away. Okay. And his name is Alexandr Misko from Russia. Misko. And you could spell his name Alexandr. And again, last name Misko. The reason why I spell that for you is because I don't want you to misspell it when you're doing a Google search for him on YouTube. He's out of Russia, acoustic guitar player, unlike anything you've ever seen before.
Every music fan should know this kid.
Yeah, exactly.
He's that good.
That's why I needed you to chime in, because
mind-blowing.
I can tell you to look at iTunes and you could listen to him, and certainly, absolutely, you can listen to it, but I think the experience is watching him. This is amazing stuff. It's almost like it's not even real. He does a lot of covers, and he has original music as well. But he's done unbelievable work with Careless Whisper by George Michael, the song Take On Me by Aha, Billie Jean.
His version of Billie Jean is
Every Breath You Take. He does.
Even his originals are. He makes you want to quit. I didn't want to pick up an acoustic guitar for the rest of my entire life after I watched this kid.
Let's see, what else did he do? Linkin Park.
Yeah, Numb?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. That was great.
He does Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. It's just unbelievable. I would forget iTunes and anywhere else. Just go right to YouTube and YouTube this guy.
You got to see him.
It's unbelievable.
Seeing is believing. That's really it with him. You have to see him.
Cranberries by Zombie by the Cranberries.
Yeah, you have to see it to believe it.
It's just amazing. It really, and he makes it look so easy.
He doesn't even miss a note.
Nope. But that's my artist of the podcast, and I can't get enough. And I have not seen a different reaction other than amazement and shock.
You know many musicians I've seen and listened to, and bands and stuff. This is special.
And you're not even like a major acoustic
No.
guitar lover, like, and I don't mean that,
on a solo level, yeah, like just somebody just sitting and playing. I mean, I like it, but not like I don't go nuts over it. This guy, please, even on my end, I'm going to ask people, please check him out.
It's amazing.
He's that good.
It really is amazing.
If you like music in general, just check him out.
He has some original music that I'm going to get my hands on, and we could play it on the show. But the videos tell it all.
All right, my artist of the podcast, and this is a long time coming, is...
I thought you were going to say it's a long one.
It could be, but I won't. Arc Echo.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. I've only been probably talking about for the past year since their release came out. Guess what? It's instrumental.
No.
And it's progressive.
Way to switch it up, Mike.
I can't. People need to know this band because one of the guitar players, Adam Rafowitz, is a tremendous talent. And he would have been on that list I discussed earlier too, for sure. The whole band, though, is talented because there's another guitarist. It consists of Joey Izzo on keyboards, Adam Rafowitz on guitar, Adam Bentley on guitar, who's a great player as well, Joe Calderon on bass, and Richie Martinez on drums. The record is self-titled. It's available on their website and on Bandcamp. Give it a check. They're fantastic. Music is great. It's always interesting. Busy, but not too busy. Nothing else to really be said. Check them out. I try not to steer anybody wrong if they like what I'm putting out there. You would not talk about something if you didn't believe in it. So everything that you talk about has substance. I don't think you would disappoint anybody. They blow me away. That's how good they are. I can't believe I missed them live, but I'm hoping they play again. All right, we want to hear from you, so write in your opinion, comments, questions, anything you want to talk about too. The subject is moot@yahoo.com, and we will bring them up during future shows. You could also follow us on Twitter at TSIM_podcast, as well as Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. In the search field, just type in the subject is moot or Dom Mike, and you will find us. For now, I am Dom, and across from me is
Mike, and we are out.